Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take a whole stack of sources and really distill the key insights for you. A shortcut to understanding some pretty complex stuff shaping our world. And today, we're diving headfirst into a question that's just been everywhere lately. Tech headlines, chats over coffee. Are nine-figure salaries really being paid to this tiny elite group of AI researchers? I mean, it sounds almost unbelievable, right? Okay, let's unpack this because the AI talent market is, well, it's absolutely red hot right now. We've all seen those headlines. Multi-million, maybe even pushing towards, astronomical figures. The competition for the absolute top AI minds, it's fiercer than ever. But are these numbers actually real, or is it maybe just hype, to grab eyeballs?
It's a great question. And it's exactly why we need to dig a bit deeper than just the headlines. While there's definitely this huge energy and intense competition in the AI space, the accuracy of those really dramatic salary figures, it depends. It really requires us to look at the context behind the claims. It's much more nuanced than a simple yes or no. We need to figure out what's driving these figures and, importantly, who's actually getting them.
Right. So to get a handle on this, let's set the scene first. This AI talent war, as we're calling it, the current AI boom, I mean, especially with things like large language models, generative AI exploding, it's kicked off this full-scale global race. Companies rushing to develop these massive, really complex AI systems. It's almost like an arms race, but with code and data, we're seeing GPU clusters. These are huge data centers, just packed with specialized graphics cards, right? Essential for training and running this advanced AI. And the investments in compute infrastructure, they've soared to just astronomical levels. It's like a gold rush, but for processing power and the brains to use it.
Oh, absolutely. And the data really backs that up. The scale of investment is staggering. When you look at, say, global big tech hiring numbers and the reported pay packages for these AI researchers, they can seem, well, huge in isolation. But then you compare that to the compute investments. We're talking easily tens of billions of US dollars annually for just the biggest players. Compare that with the proportional cost for personnel, even for these very elite researchers, you start to see a different picture emerge. The sheer scale of investment in the hardware, the infrastructure, the energy just to run these models, it kind of dwarfs what's being spent on even these highly paid people.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. So if it's billions for compute and maybe just millions for the very top talent, does that change the whole conversation? Like maybe it's less, are these salaries sustainable, and more? Is this just a necessary cost? Maybe even a relatively small cost in this huge capital-intensive race. What does that tell us about how companies actually value that rare human expertise compared to just raw processing power?
It absolutely shifts the perspective. Think about it from the company's viewpoint. The compute infrastructure, that's like the giant factory floor, right? But the top AI researchers, they're the singular visionary engineers, the ones designing the best assembly lines, inventing the next big thing. You can have all the hardware imaginable, but without those breakthroughs driven by human ingenuity, no, it's just expensive silicon sitting there. So yes, the intense market competition has definitely pushed up talent prices, no question. But the absolute accuracy of every single reported salary, you need to see it within this much bigger picture. The money's definitely flowing, but its proportion matters.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting because it's not just about big companies flashing cash. It taps into a really core economic idea, the extreme scarcity of that top-tier talent in AI. I mean, think about it. How many people truly have that unique mix? Deep theoretical knowledge, practical coding skills, and the vision to innovate right at the cutting edge. It's a tiny fraction. We're talking about individuals who can genuinely change a company's whole direction. And when you have that kind of extreme scarcity meeting massive demand, well, it just completely warps the normal supply-demand curve.
Precisely. And that scarcity leads directly to what economists and also organizational psychologists call a superstar economy. We see this in other fields too, where a tiny number of individuals command these vastly disproportionate salaries or fees. Why? Because their capabilities are unique and have a huge impact, like a rare diamond. If there are only 5 in the world, and every major collector wants one, the price just goes stratospheric, far beyond any other rock. And this isn't just theory. There's research in organizational psychology that consistently shows small, elite teams. They often have the highest success rates on really complex projects. They're not just a bit better. Sometimes they're orders of magnitude more effective. Their breakthroughs can unlock totally new paths. So strategically, getting that unique talent isn't just about hiring someone skilled. It's often seen as a necessary investment, a strategic move to accelerate innovation, to leapfrog the competition. These small, super capable teams, they're proven to be more efficient. They deliver breakthroughs faster with more impact than bigger, maybe less specialized groups. Their value isn't just what they produce individually. It's how they catalyze entire projects, solve problems others can't, maybe even redefine the market. They basically multiply the impact of all that billion-dollar infrastructure you mentioned.
That's a really crucial point. It reinforces that the value isn't just output, it's disproportionate impact on a project, a product, maybe the whole company's future. These aren't just skilled workers, they're potential game changers. So what you're saying is companies aren't just paying for a person, they're paying for the potential for a massive leap forward, a paradigm shift. And, if we step back a bit, we see this pattern elsewhere, don't we? This isn't totally unique to AI. We've seen this kind of game changer talent getting outsized compensation in other industries. Think about like Formula One drivers or NBA superstars. They're a tiny fraction of the total spending in their fields, right? A team's budget covers the car, the whole roster. But those key individuals, they hold immense strategic value. Their presence lists the whole team, British championships, huge sponsorships, fan engagement. It all translates to revenue.
That's a perfect analogy. It really highlights how the market recognizes and rewards that kind of exponential impact. And it's not just about their value in a vacuum. If we look at today, especially compared to, say, the Silicon Valley salary wars back in the late 90s, early 2000s, today's AI infrastructure costs are just on a completely different level, vastly different. Back then, the big cost might have been servers, software licenses, maybe some office space. Today, we're talking building and powering these absolutely massive data centers, designing custom AI chips, consuming enormous amounts of energy. So when you factor that in, those high personnel costs for the elite AI researchers, while still huge numbers, they become proportionally much smaller. It's just a truly massive pie. And even a multi-million-dollar slice for top talent looks different in that context.
Right. So it seems like paying top dollar for top talent is actually a recurring theme across industries, especially in fields with exponential growth and huge strategic importance. The AI situation, then, maybe it's less of a crazy anomaly and more of a predictable outcome, albeit an extreme one. Given the financial stakes and the genuinely rare skills involved, it's almost like the natural endpoint of a winner-take-all dynamic. So, okay, let's try and bring all these threads together. What does this all actually mean? The clear takeaway seems to be, well, yeah, some of those eye-popping numbers you see in headlines might be a bit inflated, or maybe they represent really specific, unique deals, the underlying economic structure. The one that allows for these astronomical salaries for a very select few top AI talents, it's very real. It's not just smoke and mirrors.
But, and this is absolutely crucial to stress, this world is completely different from the reality for the average AI worker.
Yeah.
Completely different. Those 9-figure salaries, they're for an infinitesimally small group, right at the very, very top, maybe just a few dozen people globally, perhaps a few hundred at most. To maybe give a more relatable feel for what drives these decisions at that level, let's consider a sort of fictional case. Let's call them startup CTOB. So CTOB built this successful AI analytics startup. It's getting traction. Suddenly the phone starts ringing. One particular big tech company sees the strategic value in B's specific expertise, something novel they developed. And they offer what's basically a blank check, a package with a staggering salary, tons of equity, bonuses, putting them right in that top tier. I mean, an offer most people can only dream about, right?
Yeah, okay. And what happened? What's interesting about CTOB's story?
Well, what's fascinating is that after about 3 months of really thinking it over, they did join big tech. But here's the thing. It wasn't just the money. Yes, the paycheck was astronomical, but they openly talked about research freedom, autonomy, the chance to pursue really groundbreaking work without immediate pressure to commercialize, and the resources to build their own elite team. Those factors were apparently just as decisive, maybe even more so, than the raw financial number.
That really adds nuance. It shows that for this kind of talent, sure, money talks, but it's also about the impact, the challenge, the resources to really push boundaries.
Exactly. Which brings us to a really important point for you listening right now. Please don't get overwhelmed or, disheartened by these massive numbers. It's so easy to read this stuff and feel like you're missing out somehow. Or that the whole AI industry is just out of reach unless you're like a certified genius with $1 billion offer waiting. But the reality is, the AI job market, it's like a pyramid. Those headline salaries, that's the tiny sharpest point at the very top. The vast majority of professionals, data scientists, ML engineers, AI product managers, researchers, they're on a steady, sustainable, and often an incredibly rewarding career path. They might not hit 9 figures, but they're building really successful, impactful careers. and they're still very well compensated. That's super paid elite. They're a tiny capstone, not the whole building.
That's such a valuable perspective, seriously. And it kind of resonates with some comments we saw from our community, too. People reacting to these figures. One person nailed the reaction writing, "I love to have hundreds of millions of one, playing on the currency." And another one, riffing on our earlier point about infrastructure, quipped, "If GPUs are worth gold, AI researchers must be worth diamonds." It just shows how these extreme numbers land, right? Creating both awe and maybe a bit of disbelief.
Those comments capture it perfectly. And if we need maybe one more analogy, a historical one, to sort of ground this idea of disproportionate impact, think about the story of David and Goliath. You have this entire army on one side, massive force, and on the other, a single individual who, through skill, strategy, maybe a bit of luck, fundamentally changes the outcome of the conflict. The AI talent market, in some ways, works a bit like that. A single, exceptionally talented person or a very small elite team can have this huge outsized influence on these incredibly high-stakes, multi-billion-dollar projects. They can literally shift the direction of an entire industry. Their impact multiplies, and so their compensation sometimes reflects that unique, singular value.
So it really comes down to strategic positioning and impact, doesn't it? While the reality of these huge pay packages for a select few is real, driven by solid economic forces, it's just a tiny sliver. The much broader AI job landscape is one of steady, sustainable, and frankly, very exciting careers for most people involved. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, it definitely leaves us with some big questions to chew on. In this AI era that's evolving so fast, where does your own skill set fit in? Where does it place you? And maybe even more crucially, looking ahead as this race continues, who's actually going to win the next AI talent war? And what will that victory even look like?
And maybe think beyond just the competition, too. Consider the implications of having so much talent, so many resources, concentrated right at the very peak of AI development. What does that mean for where AI itself is heading? Will innovation become even more centralized in these huge, well-funded players? Or could the influence of these superstars eventually help democratize things, spread the knowledge, the tools? It really encourages you to think not just about the dollar value of expertise, but its strategic position and its profound influence on the tech landscape that's still unfolding.